My name is Angelica van Dam, and in this knowledge clip I'm going to tell you something about a tool called Active. Our world is undergoing extensive transformation. We are more connected than ever before. There are a lot of changes happening. The changes are going fast, but they're also more complicated than before. This had an impact, and our traditional way of working doesn't work anymore. So what we need now is a new way of thinking. We need a new horizon, and we need to involve more stakeholders in that. And a way to do that is with imagineering, which is engineering for our imagination. So to determine whether something is imagineering, Frank Owens and myself developed a tool called Active. It consists out of 6 criteria. So let's go through criteria now. The first criteria is the criterion of appreciative. Appreciative means looking at the potential of the now. So the power of possibilities. What is there? What can we use? What are the possibilities there? And we try to frame that into a positive image of excellence for the future. So if we do that, people will tend to move towards that image. Language is extremely important here because words create the worlds we live in. So we have to mind our language. A nice example of being appreciative is this. We have in the Netherlands, we have a newspaper in the train, and we read that when we are in the train, and afterwards we leave it in the train for another traveler. Well, the newspaper had a lot of blank spaces, and they decided to use those blank spaces for happy lines. So when you are traveling with the train, you can write your happy message on that for the next people or travelers who read this newspaper. So this is a nice example because the newspaper itself looked at the possibilities of the newspaper, but it's also like framing a positive message for another traveler. So it's appreciative in many ways. The next criterion is co-creative. We try to involve people from the beginning of the process, multiple stakeholders, and use the power of communities and multidisciplinary teams. Because what we see is when we involve people, people will support the things that they create themselves. So it's very important to involve them. We want to keep the dialogue open and alive, and we want to trigger the self-organizing principle of people. A nice example of that is couch surfing, where you can sleep on each other's couch in the whole world, and in the meantime also meet new people. The third one is transformative, and transformative is about setting things in motion. We want to aim for valuable and sustainable change, but that does not imply that the change needs to be big. It can also happen on a small scale. Nice example of that one is a fundraising campaign in Germany, where they sticked carton boards to trees with fingers and try to raise money for the trees in the rainforest. What they did here was very smart. They used language again. So they, instead of saying we want to raise money for trees, they said we want to raise money for a family, which appealed to the emotions of people, and well, it changed something in their awareness. The next one is imaginative. Imaginative is about using both parts of the brain, and maybe the right side of the brain, which is the creative part, a little bit more from now on. So it's about consciously mobilizing your creativity and trying to speak to the imagination of people. Nice example of that one is dead drops, which is you can stick your USB stick into just a simple wall and upload inspiring stuff, or even download inspiring stuff from that. Very imaginative. Then a very important one is values-based. values steer our behavior. So it's very important to know what the values are and to align with those values. Nice example of that one is the sign they put in Den Haag in the Netherlands about a detour for bicycles. So you weren't allowed to take the road that you usually would take. Well, people ignored this sign at first, but then they put an additional sign to it, which says, if you take this sign, you will save or you will spend more calories. And this was really aligned with the values of health and beauty. And it worked. People stopped ignoring the sign. So a small thing could really help. Then the last one is experience-focused. Experience-focused is about making an experience out of it and trying to appeal to positive emotions and long-lasting impressions. A nice example of that one is a fish market in Seattle, the Pike Place Fish Market. If you Google on it, you can find a lot of nice clips about that. And yeah, who could have thought that out of a simple fish market you could create a real experience, because it has become even a tourist attraction now. So, when we look at the first letters of those criteria, you can see the word active. So active is very important. So whether something is truly Imagineering remains a subjective qualification. However, a tool to start a discussion and to assess the Imagineering character of something is to use the active energy field. The picture shows a square with 6 angles. Each angle represents one of the elements of active. If the level is high, move away from the center. If the level is low, move towards the center. Then connect the dots and a figure will appear, which gives a nice overview of the level of Imagineering, as well as an insight in which elements should be improved. The figure itself shows where the focus is and where there is room for dialogue to improve or to add. Therefore, apart from an analysis of the status quo, it actually is a tool to become more active. It gives a visual representation of the current situation, but it can also be used as a starting point for the most desired situation. So I would like to invite you to let's get active.